Next Monday.
My parents. This is how they met. My mother. Father. My real family.
What happened?
What if I pass it on to him? And he ends up like me?
Would you rather he be like me?
Legion. All new. Next Monday at 10 on FX.
Alright, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, back to finally talk about Legion Season 3. We're going to be doing episodes 22 and 23, or Chapter 22 and Chapter 23, in one fell swoop. So I'm actually recording the first part of this at like 6:30, and I've put together a bunch of stuff. I got a lot to say about this. First of all, I want to say I'm sorry I took a little mental health break. If you haven't seen the other video, it's funny that I'm doing Legion because I needed to take a mental health break because I just felt like I just was taking on too much. I've been doing too much. I've been forcing too much. I've been putting too many expectations on things and getting disappointed and feeling bad about myself and everything. And so here we are. We are back though. We are ready. And so let's talk about Legion Season 3, Episode 3, Chapter 22. Full spoilers if you have not seen this episode. So, damn. You know, the only thing I'm going to say, let's just get this out of the way, is time travel episodes and time travel stuff is like the X-Men are, you know, veterans at time travel stuff, but this basically is the story of how in many time travel stories you end up creating the thing that you know, or you know, causing the thing that you're trying to prevent, which is what happens here. Or at least, you know, we're led to believe that David actually going back is kind of what caused him to be taken by the Shadow King. But I mean, I feel like the Shadow King he's like a fly who won't go away. Alright, he was getting in there. So, you know, nice try, you know, for David to try to fix, you know, things. But I mean, I really had no high hopes that this was going to be anything but a kind of an origin story, really. Like how did David become, you know, one with, you know, how did the Shadow King get in? Because he went back in time and tried to stop it. It's not a diss, and it's not a complaint or anything. It's just a matter of fact. That's where we're at this episode. We do get some really interesting things and some pretty close to accurate comic book stuff. Now we get to meet Gabrielle Waller. Now, in the comics, that her first appearance was in Uncanny X-Men number 161 back in September of 1982. She is a creation of Chris Claremont. And she was a catatonic concentration camp survivor who, you know, gets involved with Xavier in the mental hospital. Now, that's where it departs, because in the comics, Xavier and Magneto like help her. There's a whole thing with the Von Struckers. It's a whole big deal. Okay. Plus, they split amicably in the comics, again, you know, in a way, and she doesn't tell him that she's pregnant. In this, we get to see, you know, he doesn't leave her. Magneto's not around. We can't really throw him in the mix. I mean, it would have been interesting if they had, and maybe there's an Easter egg that I didn't notice of maybe Eric was there. But Eric and Xavier were friends, so I think we're just skipping all that stuff. But anyway, we get introduced to her, and we get to introduce to our Charles Xavier, Harry Lloyd. So let's just really quickly, if you don't know who Harry Lloyd is, spoilers for Game of Thrones, because this is where you're going to know him from.
Danny, please!
A crown for a king.
Now, to be fair, I did try to find something else from for Harry Lloyd. I was looking at the show Counterpart with J.K. Simmons, which is actually really excellent if you haven't seen it. It's very disappointing that it got canceled after 2 seasons, but Harry Lloyd was really good on it. And so, yeah, that's where you know him from if you don't recognize him, because he looks kind of like a lot of guys. That's why it took me a while in Counterpart to figure out who he was. And then we have, now I'm just going to butcher it. I'm going to butcher it. Because, again, with the names, that plays Gabrielle Haller, so we're just going to have to bear with me here. Stephanie Corneliuson. Stephanie Corneliuson. I'm hoping that that's close. She is one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. Like, seriously. And she's from another one of the best shows that, to me, has ever been made. And you might know her from this. Okay, well, I guess I didn't really give you any context to that, but that's her from, she played Joanna Wellig on Mr. Robot. Excellent, excellent, excellent show. She's really great on that. She's good at playing mentally unstable. Because she's definitely a mental case. Like, she's definitely like a socio or a psychopath in Mr. Robot. Here, she's much more, she saw the atrocities of World War II in the Nazi concentration camps and went. But she's really great at playing this kind of level of psychosis. And, God, man, I'm telling you, man, she's unbelievable. So this is where David and, David's mom and dad met. So Professor X was in a mental institution, and he tried to help people. They do a little, without the Eric stuff and everything, and without Baron Von Strucker, you're pretty much left with kind of a sweet love story. Because, in all honesty, Xavier, this shows how naive he was back then. He was hopeful, like he always, is and was. The whole, we can all get along, we can all change, we can be better people. And he does, it seems like he did something to her to kind of get her out of it. Because they do that little trick later on where they just walk right out of the mental institution. Now, did he leave with her knowing that she could be crazy again? Or, mentally ill? I'm sorry. But I don't know. It just shows kind of like the youth of Xavier. He meets this beautiful woman. She's messed up, but between the two of them, it seems that they work things out. And so when it's time for him, he doesn't have to be there. I love when he's in the room with the doctor and he's just talking shit to him and he's just listening, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what this guy says. If he wanted to, he could make this guy eat a gun, which is something that haunts Xavier in a previous scene, which there was a lot of this that I was going, okay, you know what? If you're not going to tell me what's real in this episode, then I'm just going to stop trying to figure out what's real until I know what's real. So, because there's a lot of great imagery going on that I just didn't know at the time, especially early in the episode, of how much of this is going on, how much of this is the past, how much of this is just Farouk fucking with people. But that Xavier has like this one memory that he has, and I do believe it was Farouk fucking with him at this point, that he relives a moment from World War II where he tells a guy to kill himself that's going to kill him. And it makes you wonder, like, okay, so kill or be killed, right? It's okay to make people do things that they don't want to do. And there's a lot of things in here that kind of like harken to David, comparison-wise, to Xavier. Because they both have these Omega level powers and they could easily make people do things. And it shows that Xavier, he's not exempt in all this. He's not, he's not blameless. There are people that have this kind of power, like Farouk, like Xavier, like David, that there are rules and that sometimes he's broken them. And just like David has broken them. Now, Xavier never manipulated anybody into sleeping with them under false pretenses and drugging them. Which is the hardest part about this, is that if they just hadn't done that one thing. Because I said I was on board with whatever David does throughout the whole thing, but when I remembered the whole thing about the rape, basically, you know, it took away anything that I don't have a leg to stand on, right? I mean, it's the same thing if Walter White had all of a sudden just like raped Skylar, say. I've been like, well, but they didn't do that on that show. They didn't go there, but they went there in this. And so it's hard to justify, you know, standing by David when you know that in some form or another he has to be stopped or reined in. It's classic X-Men Legion story. I mean, good intentions blown into smithereens. And he just usually makes it worse. It depends on what book you're reading. It depends on who's writing the story. But most of the time, it's usually David's trying to help. It goes terribly wrong. And that's why they don't use him too much. But it seems like they've been using him a lot more in the last couple of decades. I should say, not dozen decades. But you definitely see in this episode where David gets it. You know, you have a mentally ill mother and a Omega level mutant. You put them together. You know, he's going to get the mutant genes. He's going to get the mental illness genes, and then throw in Farouk, and David never had a chance. It's tragic and sad. You know, that at least David understands things a little bit better to me. You know, knowing that where he came from. Now, hopefully, and I'm afraid he's going to use that as an excuse to like say, well, you know, I can't help the way I was born, and not just about mutant abilities, but like inheriting the illnesses. But there's only so, you know, after a while you have to take responsibility for what you've done, and that's where David's, I feel like, is struggling. Is he thinks he can just, you know, Thanos snap everything and everything will be okay. But in this episode he finds out it's not that easy. It's not that simple. Now, if David was fully in control of his powers, do I think he could have changed everything? Fucking A, yeah. Yeah, he could have. I mean, but he would have just caused a new set of problems, because that's how these stories go, right? There is no clean, you know, fix for these things. That bad choice for Adao. Now, I realize that it was in the creepy box where her hand was in, and we don't get an explanation for that. I almost don't need or want one. But she kept the doll, all right? Get rid of that doll. But we know you can't, you know, they gave it to him, right? But I mean, okay, I think it's a cool looking doll, but I'm not a little baby. You shouldn't let a baby sleep with that thing. Just don't. Let's see, what else do we have here? I like, the creation of Cerebro is in here. Bro, the creation of Cerebro is in there. So, I said bro, I'm very sorry. But there's a line that the one guy says to him, the doctor at the beginning, that every man is born many men and dies a singular man. I love that. That we have all this potential of who we could be. So like all the different ways that our life could go. Until the day we die, we could, you know, then it's all boiled down to one thing. I think that that's a very important statement for this show. I don't think that was just a throwaway line. I think that's definitely something that's going to come back. But Cerebro, the making of Cerebro is really cool. At this point, you know, again, because we're not using Magneto in this, you know, we can't have the fact that Magneto helped him build Cerebro. But this is like just like the test run where he finds Farouk, which is fucking brilliant. I love the red lights. It makes me think of David Lynch. Those shots of like the close-up reds and everything and the nightmare, it made me think of certain scenes in Twin Peaks. That is definitely like that terror nightmare feel. But he goes to find Farouk, which we all know is a bad idea. We all know how the story goes. But he leaves her alone, and Farouk, meanwhile, he's they've made a connection, and now Farouk is there, or at least some of him is. They do kind of skip over the fact that there was a battle, right? Or maybe the battle hasn't happened yet. I thought it had. Maybe that's more coming. But he bailed, and he came back home. Now, while he's gone, she's losing it. She's hearing David's music from the future, him pushing through, trying to get through the timeline into that world. But they've gone so far back that Switch can't really do anything to help him right now. So when they get pushed out and she loses another tooth, and he tries to will his way back, which was pretty cool looking. In fact, when he used his power to get attention to his mother, I thought that was really cool too. But again, it's a little, I don't know. I think the plot needed David to fail, and so we didn't get to see, the cool things that I kind of wanted, which was I did kind of want him to change everything. I wanted him to create a whole new reality that, again, then he would just make things worse. Putting another reality, another messed up reality on top of the reality that he's trying to fix. But yeah, we get the whole Shadow King shadows stuff that's going on, and it's really sad, and you see there at the end that David, however he was able to get himself to be seen, which looked like half a monster. Xavier gets there, and I'm like, that was really, again, I guess we're supposed to assume that time has passed and that he didn't just arrive in like 10 minutes. But basically, Xavier gets there, sees the apparition of David, which he would never think is his son from the future in like the astral plane. So he shows how powerful he is and shoves David back to the present. Doesn't know that he's doing that, but he does. And so by doing that, it kind of breaks her, and he doesn't even notice that behind him, well, I mean, I guess it's not even supposed to be a like literal smoke, kind of like the smoke monster in Lost, but it goes in, and I think they just had to give us a visual representation of David being taken. And we see Farouk basically kind of being like David's surrogate dad in a way, which is really fucked up. But this relationship, the whole relationship between Xavier and Gabrielle reminds me a lot of Sid. They both met in mental institutions, except the roles are kind of reversed, where Sid's, trying to help David instead of, the psychic trying to help the other person. David, Xavier sees her and falls in love, just as David saw Sid and fell in love. Both of them trying to fix things, and both of them being kind of naive to and single-minded of the things that they're doing. I don't think Xavier really put too much, enough concern for Gabrielle's well-being and the possibilities of the future and what could happen with mutants and powers and stuff and all that. And it's really, really sad. But just so well done and so dreamlike and nightmare-like, and I just, there's so many different scenes of her hearing him from the from the future, which again it leads you to believe he's really is the architect of his own doom in a way. And that's all I really got. I mean, just that they were in a rich mental institution. I know that it's been stated that Xavier came from money, but that is not your normal mental institution, okay? That's like a Shangri-La. But anyway, the whole thing with the two sets of doors that were like on the sidewalk earlier in the episode, and then when she sees the doors again wide open, where Farouk had come in, and that look of horror on her face, she killed it in this. And while she may be like a completely different character on Mr. Robot, she really brings it here for what kind of could be a toss-away role, and she really owns it, and I got to give it up to her. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all I got for this episode. I'm really excited to see what happens next. I did not watch this episode until now. I did not watch, of course I didn't watch tonight's episode, but anyway, we're going to bridge, we're going to stop it here, so I'll do the whole like, subscribe thing at the end. So there'll be a little bridge into the next promo, and then we'll be reviewing that pretty much seamlessly. I realize I got to wait like 2 hours before I can make the other part of it, but you won't know because it'll be edited together. So anyway, we'll see you on the next part of the video. I hope you liked this part. It's been a long day. Hopefully I'll be a little more rested by the time the second part comes along. So see you then.
System reboot required.
What's happening? It's David. We're being attacked.
Next Monday.
Computer records across the globe, all corrupt.
No, we have to go back.
It's not your time. It's mine.
This is how he does it. This is how he destroys the world.
Legion. All new. Next Monday at 10 on FX.
All right, everybody, welcome back to part 2 of tonight's Legion reviews. We're doing episode 4 of season 3, chapter 23. So jump in. There's a lot to talk about here. So we took our time with the first one. Holy shit, is there a lot to jam-pack in this. So yeah, full spoilers if you have not seen this episode. Another amazing episode. All right, so yeah, you saw this thing at the promo. I played the little music stinger because that really fucking just made my goddamn day, hearing that music. So the music they played at the end, the cover of R.E.M's Can't Get There From Here, it's like they're just pulling cool shit out of thin air. I'm telling you, man, for all the crap that's on TV, shows like Legion and Patriot and Perpetual Grace Limited and Dark and The Expanse, I'm telling you, man, it's a really fun time to be alive sometimes when you think about the great TV that we get to watch, even though this is the last season. So right now what's going on is there are temporal glitches going on all over the world because of what David did. And we finally get to know like what those things were in the shadows in the time between time where she opens doors and stuff, the hallway. And visually, again, this just knocks it out of the fucking park. This has to be my favorite episode of the year so far, easily. And we start this episode off where it's just Ptolemy, poor Ptolemy, who is now a machine, basically. Not even basically. Him and Carrie are having this conversation, or she's having a conversation while he looks at the stocks in Taiwan. And she's noticing things are jumping forward. It's kind of like that episode of Futurama. I can't remember. It's the one with one of the Globetrotters, right? Where the Globetrotters are like the scientists and stuff. And time is like jumping forward really fast. Like things are just occurring. And we're getting that same kind of thing in this episode. I love that Carrie jumps right into Sid's room. She's already had part of a conversation she doesn't even remember having. This, basically, they see the apple. And the apple starts to go. And then you see those little blue lights. And I'm like, oh, fuck, what is that? She's automatically saying, this is David. She's not wrong. Well, I mean, she's wrong, but she's not wrong. Like, I don't know why I do this with Sid. She's not wrong. She doesn't know what context is, but, like, yeah, it's because of David that they're there. But that Apple thing was pretty cool. I love that. And then we get our little main titles. They're always, always, always amazing. I'm loving what people are doing with main titles. Again, like what they do here on Legion with their titles. Same thing with Patriot. Same thing with Perpetual Grace Limited. Doing cool things with everything every week. Little touches that people don't have to do, but it's really nice to see when they do that. So, meanwhile, back at David's commune, Lenny's got... There's a dumb pregnant hippie girl. I mean, she's really dumb. She thinks that, I don't know. She's doing that around, talking about how salmon's not a fish, it's a color, that kind of thing. Well, Lenny wants to bounce, and I've mentioned that in previous episodes where, she's just been sitting here waiting, but while things are going on, she's like looking to just get out of there because she can see the writing on the wall, right? And even though there really is no safe place to go if David decides to go completely off the wall. And he's still, like, I'm amazed that he's still not grasping what he could fully do at any given moment. It's just amazing to me. We find out through Ptolemy that information all over the world is corrupted. Their whole thing, the data banks are basically just everything everywhere is just basically falling apart. Why? Well, it's because David's been, trying to go back in time to stop himself from being infected with the Shadow King, which we saw in the last episode. And now they've been doing it so many times, apparently, or at least that's what it seems to me, is that they're in a time loop, and they've gone and opened up a door where these things called time demons. It's not an original name, but believe me, they're fucking effective. But they see on the ship, they're looking at the film and how it's jumping. Like they're just trying to rewind it, but then it's moving on its own. And again, way more effective than that shit in It. Okay, I'm sorry, that just didn't scare me. This is really genuinely creepy. I don't get creeped out. When I made my video a while back about the things that actually scare me, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. That thing that's just in the dark, in the shadows, moving like that, without the light, kind of like that the Lights On, Lights Off movie, whatever the fuck that's called. I think it's just called Lights Off or Lights Out, whatever. That kind of shit fucking creeps me out. And they do it brilliantly here. Oh my God, is this effective? At least to me it's effective. I don't know how anybody else feels. But those time demon things, they look like something that was out of like a really scrubbed out, like out of focus character from Yellow Submarine. Or something like that. That kind of animation style. It's really fucking creepy. But Farouk, I love this whole thing. Is like, they think this is how he does it, right? So it starts coming through the porthole or whatever they got away from, and Farouk comes and saves the day. Which is like saying the Joker saved a kid from a burning building. It just doesn't make sense to me. None of it does. And I'm glad that that's why this is happening now in episode 4. Okay, because we got like 6 more episodes, which means we can get through this to get to the real stuff. So they're, by the end of this, or during this, they're convinced that this is what causes the end of the world. And you know what? I was pretty convinced too while this was going on. But we catch David now, okay? So he's back and he's thinking about his mother, and it is emotional because this is his tie to the world now. Now that he knows, and he has to go to then make sure all the troops and everybody are happy because they're all the hot hippie girls that want to sleep with David. He's got to go check in. Really, it's all for Lenny though. I mean, she's the one who just kind of wants to know, like, what is going on? What are we doing? What is this all for? And he's not feeling like having anybody kind of tell him anything, but the thing is, it's like it doesn't even sound convincing. He doesn't even seem to believe it himself. He's so fucked up that whenever he says something that's like supposed to be a statement of fact, of this is how it is, he just does not sound believable because there's just too much happening. I mean, he should just be throwing up the white flag and saying, look, just don't kill me. Put me somewhere where I can think about stuff. I promise I won't hurt anybody. I got to work some shit out. Because he really does. He really does. I mean, like saying things like, are you mad at Daddy? What the... That's so weird. But these time demons, okay, so... The stuff that Switch sees, okay? So these things, man... I don't know. Like, when he's standing there, like, going, come on. And they're just, like... And how they age things up, and how everybody charges out of the smoke... Apparently, this is how you get a bunch of dirty hippies to stop... not all hippies are dirty. These ones... Look, they're sucking on the teat of a giant pig, okay? They're dirty. But... apparently, time demons are enough to make you stop wanting to suck on the teat of a giant pig that's giving you euphoria through its teats. Yep. But this is the part where he's like, this is my time. This is David's time. He's trying to tell them that. And he just doesn't... It's almost like a question that he's saying. But they knock him out, and it's so creepy looking. And he wakes up. I mean, I love the way he says, like, I am the Alpha and Omega. I eat monsters for breakfast. I mean, come on. If you don't... Anyway. But, yeah, the first thing I thought of in that scene was when I saw them coming at him. I was like, okay, that's it. No thanks. I literally got shivers down my spine. Because I know it's just like a fucking CGI effect, but this is... It's gangbusters to me. I even wrote down shivers down my spine. But they take him out. Well, they tackle him, and he wakes up, or, comes to in a prison cell with a couple of weirdos sitting there, and his mother in the other room, in the other cell, dressed as a gypsy. So we knew that she's a gypsy, but she's also saying she's crazy. I love that though. Mommy? Oh my god. So then we When we come back from commercial, I love this because it's like when Mr. Robot came back from commercial once, and I think we were in like a sitcom or whatever. I think Alf or whatever. I don't know. But it's like you come back and it's a scene from FX's The Shield. And I'm like going, okay, I think it wouldn't be unheard of for glitches or something like this to happen on a TV network where somehow we're crossing some sort of stream. I don't know. But I'm like, okay, but it's going on long enough where I go, okay, this has got to be part of it. This is amazing. And they are in a time loop on The Shield. Why? Who cares, right? I mean, it's just more weird coolness that just makes me have to think like, okay, well, what did that scene mean then? What's so, like, because he's saying that, like, oh, good cop, bad cop, right? And he's like saying, no, good cop, bad cop left, you've got me, basically worse cop. So maybe that's what they're saying something there. Because why would they do that? Unless it has to mean something, right? Unless they're just fucking with us to say, like, let's see what we can put in there. Kind of like what I do now in my videos. But we find out that these time demons live in black holes. They're like termites. We're getting all this expo from Farouk. So, you know, it's starting to let us know really how much Farouk knows and how long he's been around. And I mean, again, we're letting this basically omnipotent dude walk around saying David's the problem. I mean, I know Farouk just wants to keep existing, and right now on the side of angels is in his best interest. But again, I'm telling you, 1 second after they take care of David, and he's gonna fucking take over. So he says that they need to go where they sleep, in the time between time, which is another crazy thing because of what happens that. Next, while they're going off to go to the time between time, Sid goes off on a little journey because time is all sorts of screwy. She gets to meet her younger self of the age when she like had that moment with the guy in the shower. And then the time demon starts like messing with Carrie and takes a shit on a chair. So we get a time demon feces that is powerful enough to wake Carrie up from David's frickin' spell. Okay, so shit really woke him up, right? I mean, I know that the smell of shit can be like, whoa, but I don't know if it's enough to. But I guess time demon shit would have some sort of do they even have? Let's not go down that rabbit hole. Let's just accept it that their shit wakes you up from hypnosis. Okay. But David tries to reach his mother, and it's pretty much a no-go. She's madhouse, and this kind of brings David up to like where he's just not having it anymore. Because these two guys, he figures out that they're time demons, and so he knocks them out of like the shroud or the person that they're inhabiting, the costume of a person. Now, then it's the time between time, where it's our silent movie stuff, where it's just Clark and Carrie and Farouk are trying to make their way to where the time demons are sleeping. It's so cool. Again, just visually, they come across. I was like thinking they find something to eat. In the time outside of time, there's still food or things to kill. I was just thinking, time outside of time food. I don't know. I guess that joke's way late for Simpsons fans. But Carrie and Switch escape through the tunnels, and I guess I was thinking maybe she'd put up a little bit of a fight, but I mean, he's making her lose all her teeth, so that's a reason to leave. But they go into this like secret phone fridge, which, Jesus Christ. I'd swear they're just like saying, what do you want? Where are they going to go? Oh, they're going to get inside a fridge that's like a secret telephone that they put there, right? They put it there, and they can, through that telephone, they can fucking teleport to the ship if all else fails. Like, they can't get anything else to work because Ptolemy's all broken down and everything is gone. haywire up there. But it's like as soon as they get there, it seems like everything went back to normal, which is really strange. But anyway, so yeah, Ptolemy's also a phone. And then we find out that basically these things are just going to eat time, essentially. They could take us back to before they're born, where we couldn't fight them. Take us all the way back to the dinosaurs. And in a very short amount of time, everything will be gone. Now, in that case, yes, this is David's doing. He let them loose. But then we get to... that Sid's getting drunk with herself, and we go all the way back to season 1 in the shower. And just really quickly, with Rachel Keller in this, she really, really gets to do a lot on this show. And if you haven't seen her... all right, we had a little technical difficulty there, so it made me look like I had turned off the camera. But I'm going to show you a little clip of Rachel Keller from Fargo really quick.
She was a true gloom, my mother. We used to eat in the dark. For her laugh, I wrote on her tombstone, "Here lies Barbara Milligan, happy till the end." Me, on the other hand, I'm an optimist. So when I see this... I don't think the sky is falling. I think that, sir, is the sign of opportunity knocking. Not so much, my young friend.
It's not my fault. They had a meeting without me. I would have said.
If you want me to take you seriously, you have to be a serious person.
All right, so I just wanted to show that because she's fantastic in Fargo. If you've not in season 2, if you've not ever started watching Fargo from the beginning, it's the other show, one of the other shows that Noah Hawley does. It's really, really awesome. And so I just wanted to showcase her a little bit here. Also, the other guy in that scene, oh my gosh, I can't remember his name, Bokeem Woodbine, fantastic. But she's getting drunk with herself, having all these questions, and we really do go all the way back to season 1, where she talks about why she did what she did with the shower thing, that she just wanted to feel something, but that, you know, she always heard about sex being about love, and then she goes, and then he turned me around. And she's like, what was that about? And she says, power. And then they go about talking about her and David. And how, like, do you ever find love? And yeah, and it was so worth it, but he was unstable, and, you know, but when it was good, it was magic, and, you know, but, like, you know, what happened, you know? And so she tells her, you know, that he, you know, eventually he turned me around. Everything was great, and then and it's just like, oh man. But it's even more messed up, because then time jumps, and she wakes up to having a time demon on top of her. Is it raping her? I don't know. But it's in a very, 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 like, in her personal space, to a very uncomfortable degree. And I'm saying that, like, anywhere a time demon would be, you're right, it would be uncomfortable, a situation. But when you have one looming over you like that, you're on the floor, and it's basically looking like it's in a sexual position. I mean, Sid's, man, she's been put through so much. So I just didn't know. I was just like, time demon rape? I think it's supposed to just be another power thing, right? You know, where she has to fight back on it. Another really hard, you know, sad part about this is Lenny. She's running around and she finds her pregnant friend giving birth. And she basically, because they're saying it's her baby. Isn't it really David's baby? Who had sex with her? Because she's saying it's Lenny's. Like, how is... Whatever. Somebody's having a baby. And we see that baby grow up. And it looks like Lenny, so it's kind of like, is it her kid? I don't. If somebody else has an answer to that one, because I know I haven't said, hey, put it in the comment section in a little while, but put that in the comment section. But she sees this whole, like, in a few minutes, again, reminding me of the Futurama episode, where, like, basically Fry and Leela have a whole relationship, a wedding, a divorce, they going to court. It's insane. But she sees this kid go from baby to little girl to teenager to having her own kids to, you know, talking about their kids to her to seeing her own child die and then ashes. And it's just, it just was, for a character like Lenny to have this be the thing that breaks her is crazy. That, you know what I mean? Because she really was she's a dead person that was a construct of, I mean, I don't know. It's insane. So, you know, but then all of a sudden we get Beta Band Squares starts playing when we go back to the silent movie part where we get this really, really cool scene that's very comical and the action is really cool when he pulls out the sword. So Farouk, I mean, look, he's an asshole, he's a scumbag, he's a mass murderer, but damn, do they make him interesting to watch because he enjoys being the Shadow King. And so, of course, he's going to whip out some giant scimitar sword. And so that's where we're going to talk, and I'm going to show you a little something about where you might know the actor from who plays Farouk. Now, he's also on Homeland as well. He was really good on Homeland. But what I hate about Homeland, or like why I wouldn't play a clip from Homeland, is because it's just like, why do I want to show this guy being a terrorist, right? So we're going to play something just a little bit different.
Please continue.
So he comes upstairs and he accuses me of clomping. And I explain to him I have these heavy shoes that I wear because my feet get cramped. And they make noise. I invite him in. I offer him a soda. He took it and it exploded and it got all over him and he got all upset. That was
Mr. Fox,
Did you clump on purpose?
a little bit.
And did you embellish the shaking of the soda?
Yeah.
Thank you.
May I offer you some refreshment?
No, thank you. I pass, sir.
Pussy.
All right, so I just had to because I love Michael J. Fox and the fact that this scene even exists, like him going around trying to like get information about Larry David. I love it, and he's really good. That scene is way longer. I just picked the Michael J. Fox part because it's Marty fucking McFly. Okay, I love Back to the Future, and we're talking about time travel stuff, right? So why not throw in Michael J. Fox? Boom! I didn't even know I did that. Such a nerd. So at this point, David declares himself God. And it's pretty intense, and I love the whole thing with the multi-arms and all that stuff. And just putting the fear of God, and he is becoming more aware of what he can do. Because he's pushed to it, and he tortures one of the time demons and basically tells the other one, who finally, yeah, that's right, you're listening now, aren't you? I love that. You guys need to go because I said this is my time. So in the end, he puts the fear of God into the time demons who bail on everyone, and now so we know that as of right now, this isn't what causes the end of the world, I think, unless the ripples and stuff cause even more of an uncorking of reality. But he comes back home to find everything in shambles, how he left it. Lenny's laying there wailing. I wrote, demons bail, Lenny's wail. Like, oh man, or Lenny wails. But she's actually, really hurt. And he has to try to figure this out. But in the meantime, he finds out that other Carrie, mail carry, escaped with Switch. Now they've got his time traveler. He wants to go into the past to fix things. And now they have thrown another monkey wrench into his works, and now this means war. So that's it for this episode. Next week's episode, again, is very vague. But this, again, was just an incredible episode. Visually, it is amazing storytelling. The most unique stuff happening on TV is one of the most unique things definitely on TV is happening right here. And it is just an astounding feat to behold. It's hard to wrap my brain around stuff. Hopefully I reviewed both of these episodes in a way that you guys want, or at least the people that come to my channel want. Otherwise, holy shit, we made it. I did both of them all at once. I did it my way. I'm going to continue to do it my way. If you like this format, I hope you do, because it's not really going to change now that I've decided that I'm just going to do whatever I want. So anyway, if you like this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. We're just shy of 200 before we hit 1,000 subscribers, so that'll be fucking fun. Otherwise, yeah, we will see you next week for Legion, regular episode times. Otherwise, you can catch we're doing the X-Men, the animated series, Phoenix Saga. We're starting to talk about Perpetual Grace Limited. That episode, the new episode of episode 2 review of that is coming out tomorrow. We are doing The Handmaid's Tale, episodes 8 and 9 together, or is it 7 and 8? Whichever ones that is. We're going to be doing the same thing I did here, and we're going to be doing the same thing with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. As well. So anyway, that's it. This is Rob at Smirking Game Review saying thanks again for all your support. Thanks for checking this video out. I appreciate it. Otherwise, have a great night, and we will see you on the next video. Bye.